Okay, welcome to a tutorial on how to design your own fidget spinner. Testing 1, 2, 3, just testing the volume, and I'm going to start up SketchUp. There we are, SketchUp. Okay, the first thing you should do is click on Choose Template, and then I think the one that we'll use is not the top one. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and choose the one that says 3D Printing Millimeters. So click on that and then click on Start Using SketchUp. Okay, that's the main screen. Now, I just want to make sure that you've got the same exact tools that I've got. So, in case for some reason you don't see the tray on the right hand side here, if you don't see it, go up to where it says Window, Default Tray, Show Tray. And if for some reason you don't have layers or Entity Info, so for example, if you don't have Entity Info, then go up to Windows, Default Tray, and just make sure Entity Info is on. And also make sure layers is on, because we need both of those for this lesson. Okay. The other thing we need are these views. Okay, so we've got a three-dimensional view called ISO, then we've got a top view, front view, side view, etc. So if you don't see those, and if you don't see this toolbar at the top there, click on View, Toolbars, and make sure you've got Getting Started on. That's that one right there, Getting Started. And scroll all the way down and make sure you've got views on as well. Okay. Now sometimes they come on separate layers like that. You just grab the left hand side and you can just move it up like that. Okay. Next thing I need to show you really quickly is how to navigate the window. Now, you've got this tool here called Orbit. If I click on that, I can orbit to look at my object from different angles. Next to that, you've got the pan, which looks like a hand. And that means I can simply sort of move around. I'm not physically moving the object, I'm just moving my viewpoint. And finally I've got the zoom, and I can obviously zoom in and out like that. Now there are shortcuts for those using your mouse and the keyboard, so I'm going to show you those now. No matter what tool you've got selected, so let's just choose the first tool there called Select. If I roll my wheel on my mouse, that's the zoom. If I press the wheel like a button, it turns into the orbit. And if I hold down Shift on my keyboard, in case you don't know, the Shift is directly under caps lock for uppercase letters. If I hold down Shift and then press the middle mouse wheel button, it turns into the hand. Okay, good. So now let's use the Select tool there. Let's select that object by single-clicking it and then press Delete on your keyboard. Okay, what I have on the screen now are the axes. So I've got the red axis, which is X, the green one, which is Y, and Z, which goes up and down, is the blue one, Z. Okay, I want to look straight down, so I click on the house top view. And I also want to turn off perspective, so go to Camera. And if I just click on perspective again, like that, you can see it turned it off. So it's either parallel projection or perspective. The difference is parallel projection is like head-on view. Top view, side view, front view, straight on. Whereas perspective, as things get further away, they get smaller. So for this particular assignment, we want to use parallel projection. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is draw a circle for the center of my fidget spinner where there's a ball bearing. Now before we do that I need to know the right size. So if I look at this picture folder here, and we'll come back and look at all of these spinners in a bit, but the very first picture I downloaded was the dimensions. So we know the outer dimension is 22 millimeters, that's the diameter. We know that the inner diameter is 8 millimeters, and we know that the height is 7 millimeters. So let's draw the outer circle first. 22 millimeter diameter, So if I go back to SketchUp, and this tool right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth tool over, if I hold down the little triangle, you can see that you can either draw rectangles or circles or polygons. I'm going to choose the circle here. I'm going to click the mouse button and let go of the mouse button. Okay, so it's waiting for a second click. Okay, now I could do that, but that's no good. So I'm going to undo that with Control Z. What I'm going to do instead is click, let go of the mouse button, move directly to the right, not up at an angle, not down at an angle, but directly to the right, and now I'm going to type in the radius. Well, the radius is 11, half of 22 millimeters, so 11, enter. And it also showed it down on the bottom right hand corner of the window. You can see where it says radius 11. Okay, now I'm going to roll the wheel, zoom in a bit, and I'm going to draw the inner radius. Now I believe if we just double check, the inner radius was 4, half of 8. So go back to that, and it's very important that you click right on where it says origin. Don't click there, and don't click there. Right on the origin. Click once, let go. Don't go up at an angle, go directly to the right, and type in 4, enter. Okay, now I'm going to get the arrow, click on the circle, I should say the fill, not the circle. That would be clicking on the circle, but I'm going to click on the fill and press delete on my keyboard. Okay. Now I want to go to a 3D view, so I'll click on the first house, which says ISO, which is short for isometric view. Okay. Now at the moment I've got a paper thin object, two-dimensional, it's not 3D yet, which is why it's sort of a slate blue color. When I make it 3D, it should turn white. So the slate blue just reminds you that it's not 3D yet. So I go up here to this tool, push-pull, click on that, and I could click and drag on this fill. Right? So I'll click and drag, and when I let go of the mouse button, it finishes the height. But I'm going to do it the same way I did the circle, so let's undo that. I'm only going to click once and let go of the mouse button, and then move up and then type a value in instead. So I'm going to type in 7, enter, and that finished the operation. So just to refresh that, if I click and drag, I can do things by eye, but if you want to do it more accurately, click once on the surface, the fill, let go of the mouse button, push it up a certain amount, and then just type in the value you want, and you'll see at the bottom right hand corner there, distance, at the moment it's 3.43, I'm going to just type in 7, enter. Incidentally, you do not need to type in mm, because when we chose the template in the beginning of this lesson, you chose 3D printer millimeters. So it automatically assumes that any number you type in is in millimeters. Okay, so we're good. Now we're going to show you another tool here. It's called the offset tool. And for this tool, instead of clicking on the surface like this, I'm actually going to go near the edge, click on that circle, click once, let go of the mouse button, move inwards in this case, and then type in 1, enter. And that made another circle exactly 1 millimeter in. Do the same thing for the inner circle, so click on it once, let go of the mouse button, go out that way, and type in 1, enter. And just a tip, let's undo that, I generally don't go near where I want. I go way off where I want so that when I type in the value, I can see it pop into place. That means that I can be sure that it moved to the correct dimension. Okay. Now I'm going to orbit. Now if you remember, that's the orbit tool, but if I hold down the middle mouse wheel like a button, that turns into the orbit tool. No matter what tool I'm on, it will turn into the orbit tool. So I'm still on the offset tool, but when I press the middle mouse wheel, it turns into orbit. Okay, let's do the same thing here. Click once, let go of the mouse button, move in, type in 1, enter. Same thing here. 1, enter. Okay, let's go to the push-pull tool again, and let's click once, push up, and then type in 0.5, enter. Orbit. Click once, let go of the mouse button, push down, and then type in 1.5, enter. So 0.5 millimeter down. Okay, almost done. We're going to select the entire bearing so we can color the entire thing with silver first. Okay, I could do it by going over to here where it says materials, and if you don't see materials, go Window, Default Tray, and make sure materials is turned on. And instead of colors, I'm going to go for metal. So go for metal, and I'm going to choose, let's try this one. That'll do. But I would have to color that. Ooh, something's wrong. If anything doesn't work for some reason, click off of your object with the select tool to make sure nothing's selected. Then get your color, and you can start coloring things. Now, I really don't want to have to color every little piece individually, so let's undo that. Let's select the entire object. Now, there's two ways to do that. You can get your arrow tool, which is select. You can draw a rectangle around the object, and I've got everything. But the way that I prefer is to triple click the object. So 1, 2, 3. Got everything. Grab your color, click on the object. That colored the whole thing silver. Now I can deselect it so that nothing's selected. Change metal to colors. And I'm going to choose black for the bearing. This is the plastic cover there. So that, orbit, that. Okay, we're almost done. Get your arrow tool, select the whole thing, 2, 3, and we're going to turn it into a component. Okay, so edit, make component. Make group is pretty much the same thing, except component is when you want more than one of something. Okay, so we're going to use that because we're going to have more than one bearing. Make component, and I'm going to give it a good name, such as bearing 22 mm. Create. Okay, now that I've got that, it's one thing, so if I wanted to move it, the entire thing would move, but I won't move it because we want to keep it on the origin. Okay, I'm going to close up my materials for a minute, and I'm going to create a new layer for the bearings. So I'm going to press the plus button, which is add layer. I'm going to type in bearings to give that layer a name, and I'm going to, with this object selected, I'm going to go to where it says Entity Info. Okay, and you can see what layer it's on. It says it's on layer 0. Now, if you don't have this object selected, right, so I've got my selection tool, click out somewhere else, nothing selected. If you go to Entity Info, it says no selection. So make sure the object you want to change layers is selected, and then you can change the layers by clicking on that and put it on the layer you want. Now it's on the bearing layers. While we're at it, let's make a new layer for the actual spinner itself. So we'll call this Spinner 1, because I'm going to design more than one. Now, to start drawing on that layer, we need to make that the active layer. So I'm going to highlight it like that. The black circle means that's the active layer where I'm drawing. And I can hide the bearings layer now by turning off its tick mark under visible. Okay, and let's get the circle tool. Let's go to a top view. Double check that we're still in parallel projection, not perspective. And I'm going, whoops, undo that. I'm going to draw where the hole is for the bearing. So again, origin, click, let go of the mouse button, don't move up in an angle, move across like that, and type in 11 for the radius and enter. Okay, just to make sure it matches the bearing, I'm going to turn the bearing back on for a second. Perfect. Okay, and let's do a really simple design. We know that the size of the standard spinner, fidget spinner, is the overall dimensions are about 40 millimeters. So I'm just going to make a line so that we can see that. So if I go like this, actually let's make a circle, and it's a 40 millimeter radius for the overall size. So 40, enter. Anyway, this is about how large we want to make it. So I'm going to make a very basic fidget spinner. We're going to look at, to start with, one with basic geometry. So this one right here. Okay, so we've got, and this is actually a 3D printed spinner, so it's a nice one to start with. We've got a hexagon in the center, and then 3 more hexagons around the outside. So let's close that, and go back to this, and let's change the circle tool to a polygon. And at the moment, if we just draw right in the center there and go outwards, keeping it perfectly on the red line, not at an angle, and we do something like that, if we look at the bottom right hand corner at the current radius, it's 15.756454. I'm just going to type in 16, enter, make it a nice even number. Now I'm going to use the selection tool to grab all of that, and I'm going to get my move tool, and this is going to be interesting. The move tool, I think the best way to use it is to pre-select something. Right, so I'm going to unselect this so you can see the difference. I'm going to get the move tool. At the moment nothing is selected, and I could grab that by the corner there and start to move it. So I click on it once and move it. Right? But I really wanted the whole as well, so let's undo that. So if you really want to be accurate, pre-select things before you do anything in SketchUp. So let's pre-select all of that, or if you remember I could triple click it, 1, 2, 3. Get your move tool. And now I want to move a copy of this, okay? So think about where you want the copy to be. I want the copy to be directly above it. So I want this point on the copy to touch this point on the original. So what I want to do is I want to grab it right there, click, and now I want to move it to the top. But it's not making a copy, it's just moving it. So in order to make a copy, there's one more button you have to press on your keyboard, and that is just quickly tap the control button. By doing that, it makes a copy. Okay, now it made it just over 40, but I think that'll be okay. So I'm going to just click there once, and I think I'm going to delete the circle before we do it. So let's delete the circle, because otherwise it's going to interfere. So one more time, select that, get your move tool. If you look at the move tool cursor, it's just 4 arrows. If I click the control button on my keyboard, just tap it once. You don't need to hold it down. You see a little plus up here. That means we're going to make a copy instead. So I'm going to grab that, click once and let go of the mouse button. Move the copy until it snaps right onto there. You can see a little green dot that says endpoint. And that worked. And now I can press Control again to make another copy. But this time I want that point right there to touch that point. So it's very important that you pick it up on the point that you want to snap. Now let me show you how not to do it. That might be your first instinct. Your first instinct might be just to grab it anywhere, like here. And then you might try to line it up perfectly. And it might look fine, but if you zoom in, you'll notice it's not touching. Okay? So if you want SketchUp to do the hard work and make everything lined up perfectly, then what you want to do, and I'll highlight that again, get my move tool, tap Control to get the plus. You want to snap two things. So if you go on there, it tells you by highlighting the little endpoint, green, and a little bubble pops up that says endpoint, you know you've got that endpoint. Now I click once with the mouse, let go of the mouse button, move over to here, and make sure I'm touching that point there. And I know I am because it clicks green and it says endpoint. Okay, one more. Tap Control, get the plus there, and this time I want this point to touch there. So I click on that, move that to there. Okay, we're almost done. I'm going to get my select tool, and I'm going to delete the discs. I could do them one at a time by pressing delete, or I could select all of them first and then press delete. So to select them all at once, click on the circle, hold down Control, and you can see a little plus. That means you're adding to your selection. And now I can press delete. Okay. Now I need to delete the lines in between there, because if I were to print this, you'd get 1, 2, 3, 4 separate hexagons with holes. So I need to make it one object. And to do so, I need to delete that line with the eraser. So I just rub that out like that. Simples. Okay. Let's go to a 3D view now. So click on the house, ISO. And now go to your push-pull tool. And don't click and hold the mouse button down, because that's not accurate and it's way too high. So I'll undo that. Click on the surface, or the fill if you want to call it that. You can see when you're highlighting something, the fill goes sort of highlighted with blue dots so that you know you have it. Okay? Click once, push up a little bit, or push up a lot if you want, but type in the correct value, which is 7, enter. And we've got it. Now let me show you when that might not work. Okay, let's just say you're doing a very large design and there's loads of stuff in your design and you don't realize, for example, that you've got something highlighted and that's way over there. Okay, do you see how I've pre-selected that surface? Okay, and that might be somewhere else in your model if you're doing a big model and you don't notice it. And then you go to get your push-pull tool and you hover over the surface you want to push and it does not highlight with the blue dots. Okay, if you use the push-pull tool and you hover over a surface where you expect it to go highlighted with blue dots, but it doesn't, that's a dead giveaway that something else in your scene is already pre-selected. So to fix that, you simply get your selection tool, deselect everything by clicking on nothing, like that, then get your push-pull tool. Now it works. So click, push up, type in 7, enter. Okay, let's turn this into a group rather than a component because I'm not going to have more than one of these, so I don't need to make a component. So triple click it with the selection tool, 1, 2, 3, say edit, make group, and I just want to show you one other problem that you might run into is when you try to color something. Okay, so I'm going to get my colors here, materials, and let's make this one red, and I go to color it, and it worked. But what if I wanted to color separate parts of it? Like if I decided I was going to paint this, for example, and I wanted the edges to be yellow, it just does the whole thing. Okay, well, the reason is it's a group. So if you want to color separate entities in a group, you can select the group like that. To ungroup it, you would go edit, solid group, explode. That means it's no longer a group. Or you could simply say edit group, and if you edit group, then you can color things separately. So maybe this is gold colored plastic that you then paint the top and the bottom like that. Okay, and then I want to stop editing this group, and to do so you simply get the selection tool and deselect it out here somewhere, and now it's a group again. Now let's turn on our layers palette and turn on our bearing, and let's make a couple copies of that bearing. So I think we'll just do this by eye. Actually, there's a way we can do this. Let's go to a perfect top view again, and let's highlight the bearing, and we want to copy it perfectly. So we'll get our move tool, and we need to press Control once. We don't have to hold Control down. And now we're going to grab a copy, and notice where I touched the bearing. I touched the bearing on the bearing in the center, not even in the center, just on the side on the black bit. Well, that's not helpful at all, so I'm going to undo that. Let's select the bearing again, get the move tool, tap Control, and this time let's click somewhere where we know it's the same distance from the hole. So we know if we were to click there, that's the bottom left corner of the hexagon, and then if we were to click there, that's the bottom left corner of that hexagon. So watch this. If I click on that corner there, and then click on that corner there, that did it. I hope. Let's see. Yeah, that worked. Let's go back to a top view. Now let's make another copy. Tap Control. Let's get the bottom corner from there. Bottom left corner. Bottom left corner. One more. Tap Control. Bottom left corner. Bottom left corner. So we're good. Now I think I actually will keep all those bearings on the same level as the spinner, because our second spinner might be a different position for the bearings. So let's keep these 3 bearings. Actually, let's do all of them. And let's put them onto spinner 1 layer. Layer, spinner 1. Okay. And now I think we can actually delete the bearings layer. We don't need that. And now we're going to create a new layer and call it spinner 2, and that'll be the next video. Enter. Okay, see you soon.